I was talking yesterday about how Hispanics, Latinos, and Latinas are moving pretty rapidly toward the GOP, and the left they can't stand it. They're enraged, and they start talking about the white nationalist Hispanic community, and Debbie's like giving me the look from the side as if to say, what kind of crazy people are we dealing with? Well,
yeah, crazy, desperate people is who we're dealing with. They don't like it. They don't like it when Hispanics think for themselves or when blacks think for themselves. Oh my goodness. We have to, they have to call them Uncle Toms. And now they're calling me, a white supremacist. Oh.
Well, part of it is the left cultivated this narrative, and they've done this over 30 years. And the narrative can be summarized as demographics is destiny. So they thought that as America becomes, the browning of America, as America becomes sort of less monolithically white, more Hispanics, more blacks, more Asian Americans, they thought we got it made. We don't actually even have to do much because we're going to see a natural drift to the Democratic Party. And they thought with Trump, we'll just portray him as the most racist president ever. And the fact that he got more black votes and more Hispanic votes in 2020, this has unnerved them.
Yes.
But again, it's beyond Trump. It's a broad,
it's a movement. It's a movement of freedom, really, is what it is. And what I'm seeing, people may say, well, Venezuelans, and because I happen to be half Venezuelan, half Mexican, Venezuelans and Mexicans think differently. So Venezuelans are going to be more apt to vote Republican. Why? Because they have just been through socialism and they know what it is and they don't want it here, right? Whereas with Mexican Americans, the Democratic Party has always taken it for granted that they are going to vote that way. And when things started changing down in the Rio Grande Valley, like for example, in Texas, in South Texas, very, very, very blue area of Texas. Monica de la Cruz, who's in Texas Senate District 15, and Mayra Flores, who's in Texas District 34. Both, beautiful women, strong Republican women who have won their primaries and are challenging the Democratic status quo there. So
suddenly the Democrats are dispatching consultants and pollsters and strategists for the simple reason that they know that seats that they could once take for granted. I mean, you remember the seats in the Harlingen area, which is where Debbie's family is. The Democrat didn't even really have to campaign.
Yeah,
he got 60% of the vote just by doing nothing, and but that's no longer true. You can't take that for granted.
Yeah,
and I think so Hispanics as a group, I think have decided we're not going the way of the African Americans. Asian Americans the same, by the way. They're I think for reasons of conformity, some of them were kind of staying in the Democratic fold, but I think a lot of them have realized crime rates. The campaign against merit in the schools, very bad for the upward mobility that Asian Americans aspire to.
Yeah.
So you're feeling pretty good about a childhood dream of yours, which is to not only keep Texas red, but
turn the Valley red. I mean, that's been a dream of mine, and I'm really hoping and praying that it happens. And we're seeing this across Texas too, though. There of course there's some black Republicans who have won their primaries. So as far as the Republican Party not liking women and not liking minorities, that's not the face of the Republican Party.
So it used to be that the Democrats wanted to portray this kind of multiracial Democratic Party, the rainbow Democratic Party, against the sort of sea of white faces. And even at Trump rallies, you'd notice that CNN and so on would sort of try to avoid the black guys, try to avoid the Latinos and the Asians and the Filipinos. Let's just focus on the sea of white faces. But that's turning out to be a kind of media fiction. The real face of the Republican Party is now more. I won't say it is as multicultural as it should be. I think there's a lot more room.
We have a lot of work to do, and as some of you know, we don't get involved in primaries, Dinesh and I, but we really want to help all these candidates win the general, and so we are going to be really focused on turning not just the Valley red, but pretty much all of America.